We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Are you looking for healthier, fuller hair? Do you want extra money for bills, trips, extracurricular activities for your kids, or do you want to replace your entire income? Monat is the answer. Our products are Leaping Bunny certified, vegan, and Monat can be used by anyone, including your kids and pets. Message me on my Instagram to partner with me. Founder shares are available, and as a market partner, you have access to uncapped bonuses, 45% commission, 35 to 55% off discounts, on top of all-inclusive paid trips. Right now, I also have a free gift for anyone that partners with me, so don't miss out. You can message me on my Instagram at LizChilvers87.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
Hi, welcome along to NUFC Matters. Talk of the Toon with me and Sid. Rob will be joining us halfway through the show, and don't forget you can follow Sid on Songs from the Attic 1977 on YouTube. How are you, Sid?
I'm good, mate. Yourself?
Yep, good, mate. Cracking night at the Irish Centre, wasn't it, for Dementia Matters? Did you enjoy it?
I did. I had a real good time. It was lovely. Lots of people came up and spoke and said how much they enjoyed the show. That was quite humbling, to be perfectly honest. But it was lovely. There's some really, really nice people, and I just remember laughing for most of the evening and consuming quite a lot of alcohol. I had a shocking hangover the next day. Woke up and it was terrible, absolutely terrible. But I had a really fabulous time. It was really was good. Talking to other people off the shows as well. Talking to Ian and Darren. Yeah, I mean, Ian's singing was absolutely atrocious. Yeah, I just put that out there. But no, they were lovely people. Everyone was lovely. Everybody who came up, and we talked to various different peoples. And we talked to Steve Hasty at the end for ages about music, and that was excellent. That was lovely, good crack. So there's some really terrific people. The lads at the band were lush. So yeah, everybody was just really, really kind and very nice. So thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. And as somebody who's got a mother who's got a really extreme case of dementia as well at the moment, it was, it's obviously a fabulous charity. So yeah, meant a lot.
Yeah, good stuff. Looking like we've raised somewhere in the region of £850. We'll get the final total probably once Woucher get back in touch with us with the tickets that they've sold, and we get the final amount off them. But whatever happens, that's great. And big shout out to Melly's Carpets as well. A good friend of mine, Melly, up in Ashington, who I've contacted and asked if he'll be able to help them out with the carpets, and maybe they'll be a lot cheaper than they were thinking. So hopefully Melly can do that. But shout out to Melly as well. Yeah, great stuff. And we will be doing something else. The Long Sands, it was an acoustic set. Trevor and Gaz came along and did it. But I did have a chat with a charity who, like everybody else, loves the Long Sands. They really like them. Obviously, they do our theme tunes for all of our shows. Those are the songs that we record. And it looks like I've persuaded them to do a full band gig towards the end of the year all of them get together in aid of the charity as well. So that's something to look forward to. Maybe it's October, November. I've been in touch with a couple of venues this week, and we will wait and see. It's just then a case of synchronising their diaries. But definitely something to look forward to. And I think because the get-togethers are popular and, not everyone can make the summer one, I've said we'll do something in the winter. But if we can continue to make money for the place, open in the Bradbury Centre, then we might do a few more of these. We've got a few ideas. Maybe it's a quiz night, maybe it's a race night, but do a few different things. So it gives everybody a chance to be able to come along and support the charity and meet people as well. So
it's such an important charity as well. We've all been affected by, as I see my mum sadly at the minute and my grandma beforehand, and everybody's been affected at somewhere along the line by it. So yeah, well done. Well done to everybody who's contributed.
Yeah, fantastic. Doesn't matter, as I say, if you were there or not. Some people just bought tickets and didn't come because they wanted to donate to the charity, which is great stuff. So thank you very much, everybody involved. Okay, we'll be looking at music halfway through the show, as always. But we start the first half just talking about what's happened over the course of the last 7 days. And plenty to get our teeth into today, Sid, because Newcastle PR machine was in full effect last week. Started when we did our last show, actually, but we heard collectively in separate interviews from Darren Eales, the CEO. We heard from Paul Mitchell, the new sporting director. We heard from Eddie Howe, our manager. We also heard from the players such as Joe Linton, Lewis Hall. I thought was a really interesting interview. But pick the bones out of the interviews, mate. I mean, the obvious one is Eddie Howe. He came out and, we were, I don't think anybody was expecting him to say, I don't want the England job and I'm ruling myself out. But at the same time, I read it out on Friday on the Amigos. We were called negative, which a lot of people at the Do completely disagreed with, but it was probably the way that I read it out. I read Eddie's words out. I read them as I always do. I read them slowly, calmly, without any kind of emphasis on certain things. But I just, I read it out because a lot of people wouldn't have heard them. And people took out of that Eddie was putting himself in the window for the manager's job with England, and that he wasn't happy at Newcastle. He said he was happy, but do you think he was keeping his options open? When you heard that interview?
Yeah,
the interviews. What was he doing?
He was definitely keeping his options open. Because if he wasn't, he would just say, "I don't want the England job." I mean, that's it. Door closed. End of story. But he didn't. It's clearly a bit of a power play, in my opinion. Anyway, it seems to be some sort of power play. But what? If you think about it, beforehand he's had lots of power, hasn't he, in terms of who comes, who goes, and all the rest of it. And it's been done with Amanda Miedad and various others, and that's all switched now that they've gone. And maybe he's going to have to do his job, which is a head coach and not manager, and that's quite a distinct difference between both titles. If you think of manager, traditionally we think of the likes of Ferguson. We think of Clough, we think of Wenger, we think of all those guys who basically ran everything. Now, Eddie Howe might want to do that, but we've now got best in field in various different areas. We've got a director of football who we all wanted. If you look at his CV, it's magnificent in terms of going getting players. We've now got the head of fitness guy, the guy Bunce. He's got a great track record. We've got various other people in charge of the business aspects of it all. So maybe Eddie Howe's job is literally to coach. And that's maybe something he doesn't quite like because he's having his hands, he's taken away from certain roles that he was doing, and everything just doesn't therefore revolve around him anymore. He's an aspect. He's one of the cogs. He's not the big cog. He's one of the cogs. And that's maybe one way of looking at it. And maybe he's expressing the fact that he would still like to be involved in all of the aspects of the club, but that's not going to happen. And I think I stipulated last week or a couple of weeks ago, I like the idea of somebody being further up on the ladder of selecting players, and it can't just be about the manager. Because what happens if Eddie Howe decides to take the England job? then we all just collapse. We've got to have somebody else who's strategically in charge. And therefore, the process goes on to the next person in charge. And therefore, it doesn't all just collapse like a pack of cards because we've all just signed players that this one person wanted. We've got to have somebody who's got the big picture, and he dictates what goes on, and that the manager's just the head coach then just has to get on with it. And maybe he doesn't like that as much. And don't get me wrong, he's done a fabulous job so far, absolutely incredible job. Probably outlived any of our expectations when we got him. We thought, pretty good. Wow, what a job he's done, hasn't he? Kept up, which I thought was almost a miracle. Got went to the Champions League, which is just as big a miracle. And I think last year was just as impressive, getting us to 7th with that injury list. However, is the new guy, fitness level Bunt's, going to come in and tell him to change the way that things go in terms of training? Because
you read my mind today, because I was having a chat with a mate of mine called Ray, and he came up with exactly the same point. Go on.
So, you might say, well, if you're doing this and you're pushing them to the extremes, and I don't know anything about coaching, so, hey, what do I know is what I'm going to put out there first of all. I'm just surmising. But you may get told, you might want to change certain things a little bit, or you might want to do a couple of days less intense. So I don't know. I genuinely don't know, because I know nothing about coaching. But you may have somebody who comes in with just different ideas. And like anything in your job, you should be, and I'm sure he is, because he's clearly very open to sort of new things. He might go away and reflect on it and go, okay, I'll take that on board. Let's move things and change things. I would imagine that Eddie Howe would, because of the fact that he went and he was criticised heavily beforehand about his lack of defensive skills as a manager. He went and learned under the best with Simeone, who is the best defensive coach in the world. That first season in charge, our defence become rock solid. It was absolutely outstanding. That's how the first full season with him, where we came 4th, the defence was incredible. Probably the best defence I've ever seen in my time of going to watch the football. So he does adapt. He does learn. He's gone around, visited various managers, watched Klopp close hand and various other things. So, maybe it's just a little bit of a fight back, because like anybody, you don't like to be told what to do sometimes. I know when I was in job and I've done something a certain way, and then someone goes, oh, you might want to go and do such and such. There's a little party wants to say, get lost. I'm going to do my thing. But, and then you sometimes maybe come around and think, yeah, okay, that's quite a good idea, actually. Or no, I don't like it. So I don't know. But that's definitely part of my thinking. As I say, if he didn't want to be the England manager, he would have just shut it down there and then and said, I have no intention of being England manager at this moment. And he didn't. So.
Yeah, that's true. Obviously, we heard from Paul Mitchell as well.
Very good.
Yeah, you're saying very good. Yeah, so you feel that he's the right man in charge. You've already alluded to that in what you said.
Absolutely. He was the top man when you looked at the list, criteria-wise. Yes, we went for the fella from Crystal Palace. It seemed to be as a second choice because we didn't think we would get Paul Mitchell. And then the PFI have gone back in and basically got him. And I think maybe he's given him more control, or the control that he asked for. I don't know. But yeah, you've got to trust in somebody who's got that track record. Otherwise, what are you doing? You've got to trust in his record, and you've got to give him the responsibility to show what he can do. And what he's done in the past has been nothing short of outstanding. So, yeah, I'm absolutely delighted with him. It seems to be like a 5-year deal, because he kept referring to the 5 years. And if you look at his track record, he doesn't do anything longer than that. I think, 5 years is pretty good. And you can sometimes get a bit worn after a while. So if he comes in and does a great job for 5 years, takes us to the next level, we start winning things, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. He might stay for a lot longer, who knows? But obviously he seems to have set his stall out. He's got his ideas. He's got his first man in, remember. And in terms of Bunts, so changes are afoot. And will the management team, as we've got, or the head coach and his assistant like what's going on at the moment? We don't know. We don't know. He's obviously, when you look at it, I watched the Geordie journos with Liam Kennedy, and he came out and said he was quite perturbed a little bit. He was a little bit surprised at the tone of Eddie Howe, a little bit surprised at how different he was compared to normal. And you got somebody like that, you know, who knows what he's talking about and is able to express himself and basically state that he is worried. Then I think that's a fair way of looking at things. I think that's a fair way of looking at things. And if you look at all the other good journos locally, they've come up with a similar sort of perspective as well, haven't they? In terms
I watched Keith Downey. I mean, I watched Keith Downey on Sky. He only gets 3-4 minutes on there. But I watched his 10-minute review of that, and he came out with exactly the same line as Liam did. That there was an anxious undertone to what Eddie Howe was saying, and that is worrying. And really, again, it puts us. And this is pre-recorded, so I mean, anything can happen at Newcastle in 24 hours. But,
as it often does after the show gets recorded.
It does, yeah. But like you know, you're looking at it and going, we really want this sorted sooner rather than later.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's not in our control, because England have just put out they've just put the job application kind of thing out there. They'll wait and see who they get, but the longer it drags on, the more uncertainty there is. And I would suggest that it probably makes anybody's job at Newcastle, whether that be Eddie Howe or whether it be Paul Mitchell or whether it be Darren Eales, it makes their job harder to try and sign players if there's any uncertainty over the manager. So, for example, people who know Newcastle and know, you know, the manager and understand who he is, then, you know, they may be thinking, well, is Eddie Howe staying? I'll come for Eddie Howe. I guess the only players that are going to buy into a move to Newcastle are people who maybe don't know who Eddie Howe is, but they're willing to buy into the project.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I mean, we've got to wonder now whether Mitchell's maybe changed the plans, because we were linked with a number of players, and that's all really, really changed very, very sort of suddenly. Certain players are not being mentioned anymore. Is it Tomori? I think was one of them.
Yeah,
from AC Milan, and all of a sudden there's been some sort of, sounds like there's been a change of plan. We don't know, but you would have thought by now we'd have one player certainly. I mean, this time last week I said, I'm confident we'll have somebody in, and we haven't. Although we've got the young lad who apparently has got a fantastic reputation. The fact that various players, I think, is it Vidic and stuff, have come out and said this lad's going to be a world-class footballer. They've actually gone as far as that, so that's quite optimistic. But you look back and as I say, you think, well, surely we should have somebody in by now. And all the various comments being stated about certain players, who's going to stay, who's going to go, and whether Howe wants to keep them. I mean, Wilson's obviously the one that really springs to mind when you think about it, and Miggy, you know, and we just don't know. And I said last week as well, with Southgate going, 2 weeks should all it needs to take to get a new manager. I mean, they must know the 2 or 3 people that they could have as manager, or that they want. I mean, there are 2 or 3 people, you know, obviously Potter's the obvious candidate because he's not got a job. You've got Eddie Howe. They could even go get Brendan Rodgers if they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be a pretty decent shout, you know. And there are others who've won European trophies, you know. There are managers out there, but I suspect they'll have got 2, maybe 3 ideas in terms of who they want. I mean, when I look at names like Gerrard and Lampard, I mean, Frank Lampard's record, it's absolutely abysmal, absolutely atrocious. But then again, I suppose some managers are suited to international management and they can't do it at club level, or their records are not good enough anyway. And that often works as well. If you look at, for example, the guy who was the Sunderland manager, Coleman, he just didn't seem to be able to do it properly at club level. You know, he was a very good international manager. So we don't know. But going back to it, I'd be surprised to see Eddie Howe being the England manager. But there's a part of me thinking, well, he's not shut it down properly, the way I would look at it, and to see how I'm happy if everything works my way. Well, jobs tend not to go that way, really. You know, it's not, everything's not perfect. It never is. It never is in a job. There's always some people you don't get on with, always. So Yeah, it's all open. It's open to conjecture, which is what we're all doing at the moment. We're all trying to second guess what's happening.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm a little bit surprised we haven't got anybody in at the minute. And therefore, that's telling me there's big decisions being taken and thought through very carefully at the moment in the club.
Yeah, definitely the case. Obviously, we did eventually hear. Last week we were saying, come on, Darren, we need to hear from you. He did come out and speak. It was a 10-minute interview that we got on the club's official channels. I just think, again, he was managing expectations, certainly the financial expectations about how much we're going to spend. And again, I've got nothing, I couldn't criticize him for that, because you don't want to go out and say we've got millions of pounds to spend and then
he didn't, but he did say we're going to go and spend up to the limit, mind you. He sort of did infer that very carefully. So what's the limit? Well, if you listen to Kieran Maguire, who's the top man in terms of football finances, he said we could go and spend 300 million. I don't see that happening at all. But I have, along with Stu Penman, been one of the people who's advocated that we will spend up to 200 million, and I'm absolutely still sticking by that. So... Yeah. I think we'll spend big. I do. I mean, if you look at the fact that we bid 60 million for Elise, who is a top player, may I add, then we've got money. We've definitely got money to spend. It's just in terms of who they're going to bring in. And some of the options that were originally suggested before the fitness guy, have they now been removed? The likes of Neto, for example, who's got a terrible injury record. Super player, but he's got a terrible injury record. So have some of these players now been crossed off? So we don't know. We don't know.
We didn't really get a great deal from Joe Linton. He had a lovely summer. He enjoyed his wedding. He spent a bit of time with Bruno. Lewis Hall was interesting. Yesterday, we're recording this on Monday, but he came out on Sunday and we heard from Lewis Hall. I got the impression that he's going to be a big asset. Certainly, underlying tones are clearly disappointed about the way things probably worked out at the start of the season, but we got more of an understanding of who he is and where he's going to play and what he's going to do. But I like the cut of his jib.
Yeah, and I love the fact that a bit like Gordon, he seems like a mature young man. And what I also liked was the fact that he appreciated he had to get Eddie Howe fit. And he had to get fit to a level that he wasn't used to and he wasn't expecting. I mean, that still comes back to the fitness question, doesn't it? In terms of, are we too fit in some respects or gone too far? But he came across really well. I love the fact that he said he'd been working on his tactics. He accepted that he's got better. And what was lovely, he said there's still quite a way to sort of improve as well. So fabulous. I love stuff like that. Love seeing a young lad who's sort of feeling, I'm doing quite well. I'm still nowhere near what's to be expected or what I can be.
Yeah, what's required.
So he's got real promise, and he's also one of those guys. When I watched him last year, I also thought he could potentially also be a player that we have as a holding midfielder on occasions as well, because he seems quite sort of astute in terms of his positional sense. He's obviously very, very good on the ball. And if you end up playing, I still have a feeling that Lloyd Kelly will start a lot as left back. And if that's the case, then he could we certainly don't need a holding midfielder for most games, but certainly some games like Liverpool, for example. And the odd game like that we would have benefited massively having somebody who holds the ball in the middle of the pot. He could possibly be a person who's applied to that, or we could push him further up. But he's got a lovely skill set. He's a terrific footballer.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a baller, and he can score goals. He showed it at Manchester United as well.
Twice he scored against them.
Not once, but twice. So just keep an eye on him. I think it'll be interesting. Lloyd Kelly didn't take any part in the game at the weekend. I just hope that we haven't got another injury setback there. We'll talk a little bit about the main injury setback after we've done the music section of the show. So I just want to give an opportunity for the sponsors to have their adverts played, and we'll be back after this.
A big thanks to all our sponsors. Skips and Bins. You can find their website at skipsandbins.com. Contact us, www.skipsandbins.com. skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickys.co.uk. Email info@mrvickys.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to United Group Travel. They are the Travel and Tourism Award winners in 2024. Their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com or telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. A big thanks to Media Arts. You can find them at www.media-arts.co.uk. And don't forget, we are a podcast. You can find us on iTunes or Spotify or other podcast providers. If you want to help the channel grow, then hit the like button, the little thumb underneath the video, click share and share to your social media, or join the channel for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to take out a one-off payment membership, go to nufcmatters.com and hit membership. And for a £25 fee, you get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card. You can also put a smartphone over the top of this QR code. It'll take you straight there. And don't forget, we also help the food bank on this channel. NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk is a website where you can make a virtual donation today.
And it's a big welcome to Rob from Give Up the Ghost UK. How are you, Rob?
Really good, gents. How are you both?
Hello,
Very
Rob.
good.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, and you. I would just like, again, Steve, just you're a very special man. You're just the work you do. It's unbelievable. So I just personally want to thank you for that and just everything you do. It's unbelievable what you do. Your hard work, your dedication. So yeah, thanks for that. Really, really loved meeting everybody there. Faces to names, that sort of thing. Especially I got to spend a wee bit of time with George as well, talking about he first used to go and see Newcastle United. I think it was 1945, if I remember. Just absolutely fantastic meeting everybody. Really, really good. I'm still in a bit of a come down from it, So I got home about 9 o'clock last night. So it was just brilliant. It's what life's about, making memories, and just meeting new people, mutual respect, and just the love that in that room was brilliant. And obviously the worthwhile cause it was for, and the money raised was brilliant. So I believe, Steve, you're going to give us a grand total in the next day or two, so that'll be interesting to watch.
It's looking very like £850, which is great. I'm just going to wait until we get the final total from Woucher, which we're pre-recording this on Monday. I should have that by Tuesday, so it'll have gone live probably on a show. My next live proper show will be Friday with the Amigos, so we'll probably be able to give a final total then. But great news for the Dementia Centre. I mean, they literally tried to do a raffle a couple of weeks ago. I think they sold 30 quid worth of tickets. We did about 457 quid worth of tickets at the do. So that in itself was great. And they've had an introduction of Melly's Carpets as well, who I think is going to do them a big favour with regards to that. So that means that money can be used for something else other than carpets, which is great. So fingers crossed. But we are going to do something else later in the year. I was telling Sid earlier on that the Long Sands are going to get back and do a full band gig for me at the end of the year in aid of the charity. So we'll be in touch about that. But we've got 90 seconds to show you here, lads, and we'll get an honest opinion on what you think. Yes, Ian took over the singing duties. Marked out of 10, lads.
I don't want to comment.
Yeah, no
Remind
comment.
me of that
Yeah.
scene of Vic Reeves used to do with the club singer.
Hey,
Correct.
fair play to him. He had the guts to get up anyway. So,
He's
well,
top
That's
man. He's dead funny. I had a real good crack with him and Darren, like lovely lads.
yeah, great stuff. That's not the first time that's been shown this week, but we'll always keep it and maybe for an idea not to get up and sing at the next event. But Rob, over to you. We know that you're not going to be reviewing this particular album.
That's brilliant, isn't it? Do you know that there's a follow-up album to that? It was called The Potent Gust.
And you also sent me this, Paul McCartney and Wings.
So funny that is so funny. It's.
I hope they're made with Linda McCartney sausages, mate.
No. Yeah.
I used to eat them. But you're going to say which album are you bringing us today?
Well, it's a request from my cousin Paul Mitchell from North East. There he's there. Yeah, he obviously been in touch about behind the scenes of family background sort of stuff. So yeah, I've sort of like building up a little relationship with him now, so it's really good. So yeah, he recommended this Shed 7, A Matter of Time. It's a 6th studio album, and it's also celebrating their 30th anniversary. And Paul went to see them last week. From York, the band was named after a numbered railway shed outside York train station. I never knew that. So yeah, this was produced by Youth. Obviously, the bass player from Killing Joke, one of my favourite bands, and that's really, really, really good production on this album. So we'll open with Let's Go. It's a really good opener. I've listened to this album 3 times now, and straight away it's a really good song, but it definitely reminds me of Gay Bar by Electric Six, if you remember that song. It's
Great
got that
song.
tempo. Yeah, it's got that tempo, it's snappiness about it. Really great guitar hooks on this one. Really good opener. Belter of a tune. It's like in your face. This is setting a standard for the album going forward. Then we've got Kissing California. Again, classic 90s, typically, the indie style drumming in this one. Really good sound as well. Reminds me a little bit about his name, John Squire from the Roses. Really good production on this. Really upbeat. It's, again, a feel-good song. Track 3, Talk of the Town, or Toon. Cajun sound on this one. It's like very cheeky lyrics, or tongue-in-cheek. Nice opening chorus on this one. So far, Paul, this is my favourite so far going forward on the album. Track 4, Let's Go Dancing. Nice piano intro. It's quite sombre song. Nice violin intro as well. Quite atmospheric. So it moves into a bit of a more of a piano ballad. It's got like indie swing feel, love song sort of ballad, but it's quite good. I don't mind it. Then you've got In Ecstasy featuring Rowetta from the Mondays. Sort of reminded me of Ultravox's Dancing with Tears in My Eyes. It's got that sound, and it's that generation sound of it, sort of early 80s. So a good dance feel to it, nice bass and drums. It's seem to dominate the song. Really, really good backing vocals from Rowetta. Nice song. Track 6, Tripping With You, featuring Laura McClure. I'm not sure who that is. Said you can maybe help me. I'm not sure.
No idea.
Acoustic opener. It's nice sort of brushwork on the snare, nifty guitar work, quite sharp and snappy again. Really, really good. Then you've got Let's Go Again. Nice vocals on this. The song lasts for 28 seconds, and I'm sure there must be a longer version out there. Unusual, 28 seconds on an album. Then you've got Real Love. Top draw song. This reminds me of Burnell style. It reminds me of Tank. I mean, Sid was talking about. Same with the bass intro, like the pace of it. Similar drumming as well. So this one now, Paul, is my favourite song of the album. Definitely. So that's called Real Love. Then you got FKH. I'm not sure what that stands for. I did Google it, and there's nothing out there, so I don't know what that meaning is. Acoustic opener, very classic again, 80s style, Primal Screamish. Lyrics relating to getting stoned, getting high. Then you've got Starlings. Really, really good video to this one. Very artistic, very creative, sort of like haunting piano intro, nice orchestral arrangements, well delivered, really, really nice backing vocals as well. Ring the Changes. It's one of those summer songs, get your windows open, nice, beautiful weather. Upbeat, feel good opener. It's like proper Shed 7 sort of staple sound, which I'm picking up already coming to the end of the album. The guitar kicks in after 2 minutes if they've got that definitive sound about them, definitely. And you got the last song, Throwaways, featuring Pete Doherty, or Doherty. It's a bit of a down song to end the album on, and I don't understand why. I would say majority of bands seem to do this. I mean, why not, just finish on a high like you did start the album, make it memorable? And it was always the same when you bought albums. You'd get to side B, and like halfway through, it would just start going downhill. For a lot of bands done that, and I don't understand it. So yeah, it was really, really good, Paul. Thanks for the recommendation. I mean, I didn't realise it had 6 albums. They're still playing to venues, 8,000 capacity. But really, really good. Really enjoyed it. Really top production again by Youth. Really, really good producer. So it's an 8 out of 10 for me. So next week I'm doing the Long Sands debut album. So I'm going to spend a week listening to that and getting my notes and give it a good review, because I've only heard what obviously Steve plays at the beginning of the shows. So that's me. Over to you, Sid.
Yeah, great stuff. Can I just say as well, it was lovely to meet you the other day. The banter was class. And at the end of the night, we'd had quite a few. Talking with Steve Hasty for ages about music and stuff was great crack. I really enjoyed that. And Gaza with the Long Sounds, just terrific. Can I just also add as well, it was lovely to speak to Anthony and his mate, who was a Liverpool fan. A great crack with them too. But also, there was a gentleman there with his wife, and he asked me to review Nevermind the Bollocks. So I said I would. So that's what I'm doing today. Just truly one of the greatest albums ever made. When I was a young lad, I remember it was about now, actually, in 1977. It was summertime in 77. And I remember I was obviously into music from a very young age. Like we all listened to like Slade and T-Rex and all that sort of stuff and the Beatles. And I remember watching them on Top of the Pops doing Pretty Vacant. And I remember my mum going, "Oh, it's terrible." And I just thought, they're the band for me. I just thought, that'll do me. And it was them and the Undertones. Those were the 2 albums that really sort of meant everything to me when I was really, really young. So this is just a proper life-changing album. It's really just magnificent. They'd done a series of like a demo album the year before called Spunk with Glenn Matlock on bass, and that's really great. Apart from bizarrely Steve Jones's guitar sounds not great at all. It's got like the flanger effect on it, and I don't like it. But the rest of the production's really pretty decent actually, and you get an insight of what the band would have been like if Matlock was playing. And at this point, Matlock had quit the band. He was never sacked. I mean, I put that out there. He actually quit the band, and they actually asked him to rejoin the band again at some point as well, and he turned them down. But that's another story. It's just it captures a period of time perfectly, and I think in some respects, Tyne's actually almost done down the legacy of the Pistols a little bit, because they're almost seen in a sort of cartoon manner, but they were much more than that. They were much more than that as a band. They meant an awful lot. They were as big as the Clash at the time, and that sort of, I think history's been rewritten a little bit, and they've sort of been turned into something that they weren't. So they were just such an important band. And of course, Matlock co-wrote most of the songs. Lydon wrote the lyrics. I mean, Lydon's lyrics at the time were great. I can't abide him now. May I just put that out there politically? But lyrically at the time, he was just fantastic. And some of the songs are just fantastic songs, real sort of anthems. I mean, of course, you've got things like Holidays in the Sun and the God Save the Queen and Pretty Vacant and Anarchy in the UK. I mean, Anarchy in the UK seemed to win almost every year on John Peel's Festive 50. For about 5 years on the trot. It's just brilliant. But it's one of those albums when I first played it, and you got Holidays in the Sun on, you think, wow, this is incredible. And then I remember Bodies coming on, and you got the swearing section in the middle, and you go, wow, and I'm hoping my mum's not hearing it. and it was just great. The album is stuck, chock-a-block of great songs. I mean, No Feelings is class. Liar's brilliant. Problems is fantastic. The only song that sort of gripes on me a little bit is 17. I just think it's all right. But you've got Submissions, great. The guitar's fantastic on it. Obviously, you've got the big anthems. God Save the Queen is one of the greatest songs ever written, in my opinion. New York's class and AMI is a great way to go out as well. And it's fast and it's up-tempo and it's humorous. As a band, they were just sensational. Really good musicians as well. Paul Cook, really good drummer. People underestimate how good a drummer he was. Matlock, of course, great bass player, but he only gets to play on one track, unfortunately. So you got Steve Jones's heavy bass in some respects. I'd love to have seen Matlock on it, if I'm being brutally honest. I mean, anything Sid did, they basically took him off the album. And he was ill at the time. There's the famous Sid Vicious story as well. They were recording in the same studio as Queen. And Queen were next door doing We Are the Champions, funnily enough, which was the first ever single I ever bought myself. And apparently Freddie was playing the piano and Sid crawled along the studio on his hands and knees to try and confront Sid. And Sid described him as said, "Oh, hello, Mr. Ferocious. How are you?" Which I think is a great story. Absolutely top draw. But the band were just a great band, great songs. The production's fantastic. Chris Thomas, just brilliant. And they picked him because Steve Jones was a massive Roxy Music fan. They're not fast. They're not a fast punk band. When you listen to the Damned's first album, it's really fast. The Pistols have got far more in common with like Rod and the Faces, with the Faces basically. But they are just great songs, great anthems that meant an awful lot. And it was a new broom coming in, sweeping out everything that went before it. And it's just massively overlooked. And it really saddens me in terms of the way people look back a little bit at the Pistols now, because they were so important. Yes, Sid was a comedy character. Sadly, part of the reason why I get the stupid nickname, because when I was at school, I had a picture of Sid. I had the pictures, Pistols in me drawer where, I used to lift up the desks. And then had that in, and at the same time, my voice broke. And somebody goes, "Oh, you laugh like Sid James." So I had it was a double-edged nickname. That's where it comes from. But yeah, it's just an incredible album, one of the greatest albums ever made. So 5 stars all day long. Just everybody should have a copy of it. Everybody should have a copy of it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
definitely.
You've got you sent me a couple of other picks. One was this.
Yes, so that's from my shop days. It's a signed copy of God Save the Queen. From one of the ex-roadies got it when they were touring Scandinavia. So you've got Sid on there at the top. John Lydon signed it as Johnny Rotten. Paul Cook and Steve Jones, who could barely write, actually. But that's another story. So that's one of my signed singles. I've got a copy of White Rye and Into the Valley signed nearby as well. So yeah, it's on one of my walls. Yeah, it's one of my prized possessions, if you like. So that's great. Just a top song.
And as always, you do review a book as well.
Yeah, and obviously to fit in with it, I went with Steve Jones's book, Lonely Boy, which was turned into a TV show as well, which we watched, the Pistol. Although, again, Matlock got really upset when they made the story as if Matlock was sacked, and he wasn't sacked. So I'm just putting that back out there. He was not sacked. So he got really miffed by that. And Matlock's son was in it as well, in one of the bands in the show as well. One of his sons was in it. So that's really go out and watch the show as well. Go and watch the show. It's fabulous. It's a really, really good depiction of what was going on in the story. And it's almost like a love story at times as well between Steve Jones and Chrissie Hynde, because she was such a big part of the story of the Pistols as well. Really worth watching. His book's really sad at times though, because only the first half of the book's done. The second half is basically where he's a junkie. He's addicted to heroin. He's basically homeless in the States for a while. He's living with friends. He's stealing off them. And he talks about how low he got in life and how appalled he was with himself later on when he looks back at his drug stage, where he was like the lowest of the low. And it's a real sad story in the book as well, because he's unable to genuinely love anybody, and he talks about it, and it's really, really sad. He's able to have sexual relationships, and that's it, and he's unable to genuinely love somebody. So it's you finish the book and you think, how sad! What a really sad story, actually. It's really well done, and it's really right to the bone. Really sad. Great guy. Just I love the Pistols, but he's much more than just a Sex Pistol as well. Very funny man, very funny man. But a sad book, but certainly worth reading. And there's one little anecdote I'll throw in. I know I've talked a lot. I love the anecdote of when the Pistols were. I did see the Pistols when they reformed, and Brixton Academy was a great gig. And he talks about the fact that they ran McLaren up, and he goes, "Oh, Malcolm, we're putting the band back together. Would you like to be the manager?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'd love to." And he goes, "Well, you can't." They put the phone down on him.
Well, I managed to tick a box a couple of years ago because I had met Matlock, I had met Jones and Cook, but John Leighton slipped out of the Brixton after show party, didn't get a chance to meet him. But I achieved it a couple of years ago, lads. I got the I got the John Leighton one, and John Leighton was great. I had 15 minutes with him in his dressing room, which was absolutely fantastic. So I'll always be beholden to John Adamson for sorting that out at Hardwick Hall, and to my best mate Christian for sorting out the meeting with the rest of the lads. And I went on to promote Matlock as well. I did a gig at Sutherland's in Windy Nook when he was with one of his bands, and we put him on to raise money for the Bubble Foundation in Newcastle. And he came up and played it. We did 180 tickets, I think, for that event. And it was fantastic, great night. And he played all the classics as you would expect.
Good stuff.
And a few more besides. So great stuff, great band. Really pleased that you reviewed that as well. Anything happening with Give Up the Ghost UK then, Rob?
Back to rehearsals next week. It's supposed to be tomorrow, but my finger's still really sore. I've got like a slight infection in it, but so I'll give it time to heal. Got some new songs to learn as well, so it'll give me a bit of time for that. But Sid, what I was saying earlier on about a lot of bands end albums on a downer. Never mind the bollocks. Side B could have been side A. Every song a killer. Yeah, there's no. It's just classic.
Well, when it originally came out, there were two versions because you got the original version and they got the number one as well. The original version didn't have submission on it, then about 2 weeks later, it got re-released and they switched the order of the tracks around, and I had the switched version actually. So
and I own all of as much vinyl as you can possibly own of the Sex Pistols, and I bought them all from Sid's shop because that's where we first met. Me as a young student going in and buying all of this stuff off Sid. So I've got some really interesting vinyls. A couple of picture discs. Flogging a Dead Horse I bought at your place. I remember that. Right. I bought that as well because literally that's what the Sex Pistols are always accused of, Flogging the Dead Horse. And the Great Rock and Roll Swindle, the actual double album, I bought that there as well. All my Pistols vinyl comes from that old shop. But great stuff, great memories. Look forward to having you on again next week, Rob. And we will see you next week. Take care, mate.
Take care,
guys. See ya. And you. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Okay, I've got about 10 minutes left of the show. Just injuries. I love NUFC.com have been on point this last couple of weeks with the way that they write their headlines before they have their article. And the symbol Wilson's back was brilliant. that double meaning because for those of you who've been living in a cave for the last week, Callum Wilson, our number 9, has been hit by another injury blow, and he left the club's training camp in Germany due to injury. And Eddie Howe was speaking on Friday last week and said that Callum had gone to see a back specialist. He's had a little procedure on his back. It's just something he's been feeling a little bit, so we're getting it checked out. Let's see if he'll be fit for the start of the season. Disappointing, this, Sid.
It is, and it is. I watched the show the other day on Friday, and I think Mitch was dead right where it might well be a preemptive sort of operation to sort of prevent other things. And I thought, oh, that's quite a nice take. I quite like that, actually. That makes total sense because your lower back and your hamstrings are obviously connected without a shadow of a doubt. So I thought that was quite a nice take. I like that, actually. That made total sense in some respects. But yeah, I always think of the Jasper Carrick gag where they used to talk about Brian Robson when they says, "Oh, they'll stretcher him on," and it's one of those, isn't it, where you think, he's out so often. I mean, the guy's made of glass, and he's a fabulous footballer as well. That's the sad thing about it. If we keep him, and Howe seems to, according to all the latest press releases, which seems an odd one, if you're going to keep him, he has to be third choice. You have to get somebody else in who can consistently play, or you have to have at least another striker who's as good as him. And he's a top player, in my opinion, even at this current situation. But he's never fit. So, and because of his injury record, he then puts Isaac at risk of being injured because he plays too often. So you've got to have somebody else in there. And the Chris Wooden conversation, of course, they never replaced him, and you have to have somebody else who can come in and sort of break things up a little bit as well. I mean, the Jonathan Davids rumor would be fab. If we got him, I'd be delighted because it's a different type of striker again, or whoever it might be. But they've got to do something about it. Do I expect Wilson to be fit at the beginning of the season? No, is the honest answer. I'd be very surprised because it's just going to have to take him time to come back into fitness and build up his strength again and start training again. So I'd be surprised if he's available right at the beginning. Might take a couple of weeks in. So we need someone. Yeah. And unfortunately, it puts us at peril of clubs know we need a striker, so are they going to put the prices up? So that's one of the downsides to it all as well. Again, you don't really want to see Anthony Gordon playing through the middle on occasions, even though he does a pretty good job of it. I'd rather see him playing on the left or the right, and hopefully alternatively switching. I would like to see a little bit more of that with Gordon, but not through the middle. I don't really want to see him there, even though I think he can do a job, but a job's not doing the job, if that makes sense. Which is his job is being on the wings and creating opportunities and scoring goals.
I think the same about the switching. I'd love to see him go for Gordon and Bonds and swapping them over. I think it would work. It's something a bit different. And
it's one of my bugbears is all this. Oh, we got to have inverted wingers, and you're thinking, what's wrong with going to the byline and whipping a ball in with your correct foot? I don't. That's why when Murphy came on last year, he was almost like a breath of fresh air because he didn't try and cut inside. He went outside and whipped the ball over, and then occasionally he would cut in as well. So you've got that sort of variation. I'd like to see one do that and one do the inverted stuff. So you've got something, you can balance out, and then occasionally you might want to switch them as well, rather than being really, really predictable. And that's been the real problem that we've had, of course, is that real predictability of it all. If every time you're going on the outside, you're then going to cut inside. If it were Miggy, you want to see somebody going on the outside and whipping the ball in with their other foot. Got to get somebody right wing for me is priority, but centre forward is just behind. Before centre half, to be perfectly honest, and then I put centre half down as my third in terms of priorities, and then I'll probably go for a goalkeeper. So
interesting. It's gone quiet on a few things. We discussed that at the start of the show as well. Maybe as a change of tactics now that we've got a sporting director in. Miodrag Pivas has come in, a 19-year-old Serbian youth international defensive midfielder. Joins from FK Jedinstvo. Undisclosed fee, made 26 appearances in his debut season as they gained promotion to the Superliga. Another one for the future, Sid?
We don't know. Because as I mentioned earlier on in the show, the reviews of some genuinely world-class players have said this guy's going to go right to the top. So could he not be possibly? I'm just putting it out there. Could he not be the lad who we could possibly throw in for the odd game as the holding midfielder? I don't know. If he's that good, who's to say he can't be the answer? Or do you not go down the route again and loan him out to see like a Feyenoord or somewhere like that and get him sort of high quality football for a year and then bring him in? Because there's, Shear's not got that long to go, I would suggest 2 years max, probably, with him being at top level, and probably only this year as first choice. Maybe he's even not first choice. We don't know. So I don't know. It looks a real prospect. I'm really quite excited by him, actually. He looks a real prospect. Apparently, he's quite quick. He's really strong. He reads the game really well. He's got everything you want. And there's been a number of top clubs, not just us, have been chasing after him. So it's a bit of a coup to have sort of pulled off this deal. And as I say, the likes of Vidic and stuff have come up with some really big statements about this kid. So really, and Matic was another one who come out and said what a top player. He said he's going to be right at the top. So some really good respected players have come out and said big things about the lad. So yeah, it's a big season for a lot of the young'uns though, Steve, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. Finishing up really just the friendly we played at the in Germany at the Adidas Centre. We played Unterhaching. We won 3-1. We're 3-0 up at the end of the Harvey Barnes, Jacob Murphy, Alexander Isak scored. First team in the first half: Pope, Lewis, Kraft, Byrne, Hall, Murphy, Joelinton, Longstaff, White, Barnes, and Isak. So White in there in that starting lineup. Conscious of the fact we've got a lot of players missing because they need to have a break after international duty. We've obviously got no Lloyd Kelly, no Callum Wilson, and no Lewis Miley because they're all injured at this moment in time. Second half, changed the keeper, of course, which Pope's only going to play that one half, but we did play young Miley played.
The keeper's called Odysseus, isn't he? As in the classic Roman literature sort of character as well. I love that. But go on, sorry.
Stanton, Sahar, Emerson, Turner, Coop, Alfie Harrison, which of course big things expected for him. Sanusi, Kowal, and Parkinson all played. Lost the second half 1-0, which is no disgrace on those players who played. Of course,
did the Irish centre half not play?
Yes, yeah.
I did.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. So we've got we've got an interesting set of youngsters out there who will have learned from that experience. Tonali's absence was unexplained as well, and there was no explanation as to why Harrison Ashby wasn't involved. But
the Tonali one, apparently they're uncertain whether the rules, they're getting clarification off the FA whether he's allowed to actually play.
Yeah, they're doing the same with Japan, aren't they? Yeah.
So that's a strange one, isn't it? That it's taken quite a long time to figure out.
But youngsters coming through is good. I mean, I'd love to see Alfie Harrison progress and young Miley as well.
Yeah, as I say, and the young Irish lad as well, it's a big season for him. Or if not, loan him out and give him a chance. They've got to play regular football now at this age. Miley, less so, because he's going to be in and out of the team, I suggest. But for the others who are not going to get regular games, it's time to start loaning them out. We've got to build up that experience, but it's looking really promising. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these young lads eventually coming through. And there seems to be a pathway. That's the key. There's got to be a pathway, and that's why we're getting big players from first big teams from Man City and Arsenal and stuff coming to our club because they see a pathway to their future. So, yeah, good. Long may it continue.
The future's bright. The future's black and white. The clock is beating us. Thanks to Rob. Thanks to Sid. Don't forget you can subscribe to Sid's channel. Songs from the Attic 1977 on YouTube. Give him a follow. And I will catch you next week, mate. Take care.
Yes, take care. Look after yourself. Bye-bye, folks.